Yo guys, welcome back to Stock Talk Insider. Today I will be talking about SoFi and why SoFi was up 3.6% yesterday while the whole market was bleeding out and going down and selling off. So SoFi is actually a very good business and a very stable and healthy company to own, of course. But SoFi is starting to become one of the more safer options in the market if you look at their valuation against what they actually bring in with their earnings reports. So their earnings reports are way too good in my opinion for the price they are right now. Of course, they're very reliable on what's happening with things like rate cuts and all of those things, and because that's just the thing that's very uncertain at this point of time, SoFi is not really getting its growth that it should be actually. If we were in a full-on bull market, because I do not believe that we're in a full-on bull market because we are still waiting on what the Fed actually is going to do, where I, by the way, believe that the Fed will not be cutting, or maybe 250 basis points at most. But if we wouldn't have those headlines of the rate cuts or tariffs or all of those things, which makes inflation come back or make it sticky, which is all of the reason to not do the rate cut, then SoFi will actually pass its growth a little bit on that news. So yeah, if we wouldn't have those things around rate cuts and all of those headlines, SoFi would already be at 30 in my beliefs. And yeah, I would really support them to do so because I really believe that they deserve to be $30 or more because the company is just too big, getting too big for the valuations they have right now, and just their future, their members growth, their revenue, their EPS, their especially their net revenue also, just how the business is growing and becoming more of the fintech they want to be. It's too good of a company to not own for the coming years. So yeah, going to the first point I want to make in this video why SoFi was up is actually the broad market context. The sell-off impacted technology and growth-oriented stocks broadly. SoFi got caught in that wave but didn't stay down and even recovered by the end of the day to plus 3.6% as said before. Important to frame that SoFi's move came in the context of a broader risk environment. Going further, we have the company fundamentals and sentiment around the stock yesterday and a couple of days ago. So we have strong recent earnings and growth story, which is a very big one. Early in Q2, SoFi delivered record revenue, hundreds of millions, and strong year-over-year growth that had already bolstered investors' confidence. So based on that, going further, we have several analysts that raised their price targets, including Citigroup up to $28 and a very big one, JP Morgan, going to $24, providing positive sentiment and a very good base to build on. This created a technical and fundamental floor. Once the broader market dipped, SoFi bounced back, likely helped by these supportive elements, of course. So if you go even further, we have also some new catalysts, some positive new catalysts. SoFi launched a partnership with Lightspark to facilitate international money transfers using the Bitcoin Lightning network, expanding service offerings and possible reinforcing investor confidence. Also, the rebound occurred despite volatility, suggesting that underlying narrative and news flow was strong enough to offset short-term and negative momentum. Some short-term headwinds and recovery. So dilution concerns that had surfaced when SoFi announced a public offering to raise capital, so 1.5 billion by selling millions of new shares, which initially put downward price pressure on the stock when the stock was actually up around 18% to 19% when earnings dropped. So I do think that we would already be over $28, which is something I will come back on later in the video. But that the rebound shows that the market began to look past the dilution concern, at least in the short term, focusing instead on the longer growth and earnings narrative. Looking at technical and sentiment dynamics, because there was a prior rally in the stock supported by positive earnings and analyst optimism, buyers stepped in quickly when prices dipped during the sell-off. That momentum and optimism may have created quick technical support zones. In addition, retail and institutional interest, possibly fueled by media coverage or analyst re-ratings, may have helped cushion the fall and enable the bounce. Taking all of the information into conclusion, and of course a very good takeaway, is that a broader risk-off market environment, but with fundamental strength underneath. Positive recent earnings and analyst upgrades providing confidence and valuation support for a whole and a very good base. We also have the new catalysts like the Lightspark partnership, capital raise headwinds that were temporarily absorbed, and the buy the dip mentality among investors and momentum investors because the company is too good to not own. A little bit of the technical chart. So we will fly when we go over actually $28.27. So at this point we're around, if I look closely, because on this I can't literally see. Let me see. At this point we're at, where's my SoFi? Where's my SoFi? SoFi stock. Let me look. SoFi stock. So at this point we're at 22, well, rounded up to $23. We will fly and we will go very high, and actually $35, which was my price prediction for June 2026. That's still the price prediction for June 2026. But if by saying we hit $28.27 and we go over it in close of the market, we just go to 35 like it's nothing. We go over 30, we go over 35 like it's nothing. And if that happens, if it happens that we go over 28.27 by next earnings, and earnings are very good and very stable and very just that, then the stock will probably, if it's positioned correctly, then the stock will probably go over 28.37, and in days to come it will go forward on their positive environment and what the earnings have brought to the stock. So then the stock will go to 28.27 and go over it when earnings drop, and the days after it will just grow even higher until we are at like 35, or just a number that's spoken a lot about. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you look at my personal position, I have currently a position of 950 shares with a total profit of 6,070 euros, which is around $7,000. And I have an average buy put of around 13.55 euros, which is maybe around $14.10. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to say why I think that the market gave SoFi a positive close yesterday. And yeah, if you want more, or do you think something else about the stock or about the future for the stock, then leave it behind in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want, and yeah, I see you later. Thanks for watching.